The number of farm suicides in India are 200,000 since 97. When the seed monopoly started, it would have been GMOs immediately, but because of our cases, it began with hybrids, but it was still a monopoly, and then it grew into the BT cotton monopoly. Monsanto controls most of the major seed companies that are selling BT cotton through licensing arrangements. So in effect, you might have different names, Nuzivello, Krishna, Maiko, but at the bottom of it is all an ownership of Monsanto. And in 6 years' time, Monsanto has destroyed the biodiversity of cotton in a land where cotton evolved. We had 1,500 varieties of cotton. Now we only have BT cotton, BT cotton, BT cotton. And Monsanto is trying the same with corn. And in the case of corn, they will introduce herbicide resistance corn. They have entered tribal areas where the best diversity is, and there's no commercial industrial farming. And tribals grow millets, they grow other things. Not all tribals eat corn, but they're doing a partnership with government through what they call sunshine projects. And they work with governments to get these seeds distributed under tribal welfare programs. And because they're non-renewable, if the farmer has used it once, the next season they don't have a supply. The company also uses something called seed replacement. Either encouraging farmers to give up their seeds or paying farmers to give up their seeds. And in one season you can have what I call a seed famine. And then people think this is a choice, but it is not a choice because there's no alternative available. You can't choose when there's no alternative. So farmers get deeper and deeper dependent on a single variety with toxic genes. It's failing, but you can't get out of it. And the debt trap then is a win-win for the agents of the company because they get the land as well as the market, and a lose-lose for the farmers who lose their lives and who are losing their lands. We were very successful in stopping Monsanto from entering the first food crop in India through the genetically engineered BT eggplant or aubergine. And because we'd had experience with the BT cotton, we were able to mobilize in a very, very big way. The government gave clearance, but we forced the environment minister to review that approval. The minister was forced to do public hearings across the country in 7 cities, where farmers were heard, scientists were heard, consumers were heard. At the end of these public hearings, he put a moratorium on the BT eggplant. Of course, the company doesn't sit back. It has all the help of the US government and US aid. And the day after the moratorium, a new law was announced replacing our old law, which is under the Environment Protection Act, and it's to regulate GMOs. And the new law is called the Biotechnology Regulatory Authority Act of India. It's not yet been passed. It's going to be tabled, but the draft was put out. And it would be a self-regulation by the industry. No one else would test. Even now, the government doesn't test. And it would be a law in which those of us who today are seen as responsible citizens because we bring issues of biosafety, we bring issues of farmers' rights into our national legislation. If this new law was to go through, and we're going to do everything to prevent it, then speaking against GMOs and questioning their benefits and safety could get people like me into 2 years jail and a 200,000 rupee fine. We have a very strong law, I was part of the drafting committee for the national government, which was supposed to be the Plant Variety Act, which is implementation of UPOV, but we turned it around into a Farmers' Rights Act, and which says the farmer's rights can't be alienated, the farmer has full freedom to exchange, save, improve seed. Monsanto hates that clause. So they've tried to bring a new Seed Act that would ensure seed replacement, which would criminalize farmers from having their own seed. Native seed, indigenous seed, open pollinated seed would be made illegal. We have fought that law since 2004, with the Gandhian Satyagraha, and so far have prevented it from being turned into law. There's another way in which Monsanto gets into the market. It changes the language. So we have part of an antitrust case filed by one of our regions called Andhra Pradesh, in which the government said that the company is charging so much money for royalties. Every year at the high price, Monsanto was collecting 10 billion rupees of royalty annually from Indian farmers for cotton alone. Because of the intervention in antitrust, it's come down to 3.5. But Monsanto wants to go back to the 10 billion. And it says the government doesn't have a right to regulate the prices. And the government saying we have a duty to regulate the prices because our farmers are dying. And instead of talking seed prices, Monsanto talks trait value. And writes entire reports saying we have a right to charge what we want to about with trait value because this is about our creativity and our innovation, and the government doesn't have any business to interfere in the trait value. The trait value is just another word for royalty. And what royalty you charge affects the price of the seed. So that's what I literally was drafting this till I got onto the flight to come out, a reply on the fact that trait value is just a dishonest way to say I'll appropriate what super profits I can from the peasants, and if they die, it's not my headache, and it is not a right of the state to prevent me from driving innocent farmers to suicide. Now, I just want to end with the fact that there has been an initiative taken in this country, a very important initiative, and Andrew, who's sitting here, invited me in May to reopen the issue of the fact that your public money, money that belongs to you, is right now empowering Monsanto to destroy biodiversity and destroy farmers' lives and farmers' freedoms across the world. And there are three reasons why Norwegian citizens, through their democratic rights, need to get the government to pull this money out. First, they're anyway stealing your money because 49% fall in share value in the last few months in Monsanto's stocks. Why did that happen? Because when the Roundup Ready failed to control weeds, they went up for Roundup Ready 2 and doubled the price. When BTs failed to control pests, they did a BT2 and doubled the price. Then they said, okay, if nothing is working, we'll have 8 stacks of genes for toxics. It's called the smart stacks. It wasn't very smart. It failed the farmers. The yields were lower than even the traditional varieties, as a result of which their market shrank. Their lies are catching up with them. And it would be wrong in any case to put money in a losing enterprise, which Monsanto today is. But the second is it's a failed technology. It's not just Monsanto, but GMOs with just herbicide resistance and BT toxins are not doing the job they were designed to do. They're not controlling weeds, they're not controlling pests, and they were never designed to increase food production, because you can't change food production by putting one gene for toxin. For food production, you have to improve the productivity of entire farm systems, and you have to increase the productivity through breeding that is a very, the traditional breeding through which the performance of yield changes. But there is another reason why we need to make sure that Monsanto doesn't just steal the seeds from the third world farmers, doesn't just steal the lives of present-day farmers, but doesn't steal the future from our children. Because if the biodiversity that we need for the future is destroyed or appropriated, we don't have food security for the future. And the idea that Monsanto can own seed and through that collect royalties is becoming worse than the kind of royalties that were collected in the colonial period through landlordism, where the colonizer said this land is ours and we will take what we want to. What we now have is life-lordism. And if landlordism was wrong and we got rid of it and became democratic society, life-lordism is wrong on every count, and no society can dare to call itself democratic if it allows a dictatorship of Monsanto through patent monopolies and selling us toxic seeds and toxic crops.